Hey guys, how's it going? Yep, same as always, environment work. You know, we're on part 37 of this, you've probably got the general idea of what we're doing at this point. Little bit of an update, so this is where we left off at the end of the last stream. We were doing a little bit of a paint over. We did kind of a wet ground thing, which ended up working better than I expected. So we kind of committed to that, you know, made the creature's hair more wet, and we started drawing kind of grass and plants and little bits of debris and stuff into the ground to make it kind of work a bit better. So, and we also added this thing, which I might redo at some point. But yeah, so off stream, Jesus or Jesus FC or whatever you want to call him, he sent me a really nice paint over, which actually I've lost right now, but basically he painted over this and kind of pointed out a few things, one of which being the camera angle and lighting. So I've done a pass of those. So this render above is the latest. This is what we currently have in the scene. So all I've done is kind of like tilt the camera, like I think it's 10 degrees, 15 degrees maybe, basically until this curve ends up flat. But then what that means is that everything else is really tilted, and it kind of helps everything feel a bit off balance. And other than that, he pointed out that the lighting would be a bit better if it's a lot brighter back here. So I've added a few little things. So the light in front of this guy is a lot stronger. It might loosen that back down though. I've added a light in front of this character's face, which is a bit stronger, so now you can actually see the character's face. I've added an additional light kind of to reinforce the sun in the HDR, and I've added a light just here. Literally just to get this orange rim. It's too bright right now. I'll be bringing that down. And then other than that, a little bit of modeling was done. Literally just went into Marvelous Designer and simulated a piece of cloth, which ended up just making a semicircle. So, but you know, we've got a piece of cloth up there now, so I'll need to look dev the wood and also model. You know, do a bit of modeling to kind of get this stuff working, get all the grass and stuff in there. But yeah, so I might start with the rocks, maybe. Get ZBrush open, do some sculpting in there. And yeah, I'm really hoping we kind of have everything in place pretty soon. Because this project's been going on a long time now. It'd be nice to start a new character, do something in real time for once. But yeah, so if anyone has any questions, by all means, let me know as usual. And in the meantime, I'm just going to get on with it. I don't really know how I'm going to do what I'm doing today. I also don't really know entirely what I'm doing today, so do keep that in mind. I'll probably be a little bit kind of fumbling around. Let's just minimize this. Cool. So, yes, this is the new camera angle. We do have our old camera though, just in case I want to go back to it, which I probably will occasionally. But yeah, and then there's our cloth, which makes no sense because currently there's no window modeled in place. But to be honest, I probably won't model a window here, just because it's out of frame. It doesn't really make any difference at all. But in essence, all I did is I modeled a basic window and just draped this through it in Marvelous Designer. And yeah, that's what we ended up with. I might actually rotate this around, because I think this side might work better on a silhouette. But yeah, let's do that. Let's just rotate this, turn it either way. That might visually work a little bit better. Let's check that through camera. Yeah, it's behind that, but it might make more sense. We can always move it this way a bit. Let's just move that over. Yeah, that might work better. We'll see. If it doesn't work, then so be it. It's not the end of the world. We can always duplicate it as well and have both. Just put them side by side. But yeah, so what things do we have to do? And let me just quickly. So in terms of the to-do list, obviously this is the latest render, but this is the one that we painted on. So I've got to make the grass, which I'll probably do first because I'm going to do that as a Yeti Grim. We've got to do little stones and possibly little flowers. We'll see kind of how I'm feeling about actually doing that. And other than that, it was just texture work, right? It was adding like grunge like on the floor, which we can do procedurally. I need to add an extra layer of depth to these as well. Because currently the what's the phrase I'm looking for? Currently the stone blocks back here feel too flat. They needed a lot more. You can see it here. Like here works all right, but on this side it doesn't because the highlight's not working with us. So we need to do something to kind of make that feel less CG. But yeah, so that back over there. So I guess we'll do the grass first, right? So let's just go and lock basically everything. And the box is not in the character layer apparently. We need to add a groom layer as well, don't we? Let's go with red on this. Cool. And yeah, so that needs, let's just quickly clean up the naming as well actually. Fabric, geo, hanging, and let's just start getting these placed around. House. These, what are they? They're the newspapers. That one can go. Yeah, it's fine. Nope, outside of that. And all this is okay. So that will go. Drain, block, geo. Mount can go in the ground group, I think. Where is it? There it is. And this rainwater, yeah, that can stay. Just put that in environment. And all this stuff. Okay, let's combine those meshes, I guess. Drain, pipe, geo. And we can put that on the house. And where are these? Oh, we've already got a drain pipe group, so let's just drag that in there. I forgot the name of these things. Oh, JPEG Maya. Welcome to the stream, man. Happy Thursday, Mike. Haven't been here since FK Twig days, but this is looking incredible. I'm excited to go back and watch process. Cool, thanks, man. Welcome to the streams. You say you've been here since FK Twigs, but I've not seen your name before. So yeah, welcome to streams. I'm glad you like it. What would this be called? Pipe bracket? It doesn't feel like the right name, but I'm just gonna commit to it. Modify. Let's go with search place names. How long has this song been going for? Because I swear this song was going when it started. So let's having a quick look through. I normally like the stuff that Blue Wednesday does, so I'm going to put that on. Cool. I'm going to need to fix these models at some point. In fact, let's quickly do this now. Just fix the topology. We'll have to UV all these at some point. Because wood is something that you can't really do procedurally very easily. Like, not as in, like, you know, substance designer, sure, you can do that procedurally pretty easily, but in terms of actual, like, Maya procedurals is pretty tricky. Almost everything. Cool, that's that done. And these, I guess I should fix that topo as well. Just to make it a bit more uniform with the other stuff. Having uniform mesh density is really helpful in the long run. Because it means that your displacements are consistent. Like if you've got loads of high frequency details, for example, and you try to do a displacement on like quite a few different objects with loads of different densities, what you end up with is one object will look more detailed than the other, even though they've got the same shader. Like if they subdivide differently, they'll get different levels of detail. So it's always worth, you know, making sure that you're being nice and consistent. It doesn't have to be perfect consistency. The closer to perfect, the better. But you know, it's not, you know, a matter of life or death. It's just good to be in the ballpark. And the reason I like to add these loops on the sides, this one I'm doing right now, is because on flat objects, bevels still don't really smooth like fully correctly on their own. Just because ultimately these are two round corners that are facing each other. So if you think of that like trying to smooth that, it's going to try to like complete the curve. Like if I just quickly, so you see how if I get these two edges, they're not pointing directly at each other. That means if I get rid of this middle edge, they don't smooth towards the middle. So like that smooths a bit nicer. Whereas if I get rid of this and smooth it, you see it's got a little bit more of an arch. It's subtle, it's really subtle. But I tend to like just having that. And plus it's really easy to UV. If you've got that extra line, you can just cut your objects in half. I'm not too keen on these really long faces, so let's quickly fix those. Well, it does mean these got more topology there now. And let's do the same for these guys. Bevel that. Oh, actually. So let's go into face mode. Convert that to edges. There we go. Bevel that. We'll have to fix these intersections at some point. And then let's just, again, I'm going to leave those out for now. So I'll probably still edit the shapes of these, and these I'm going to leave for now as well. And they're already smooth, fine, so. And I do really want to do this to the bricks, but at the same time I know it's a complete waste, so there's no point. But I also don't like looking at these bricks and just seeing like really large faces looking back. But yeah, that should do everything for now. So let's do a temp mesh, because what I'm going to do for the grass is I'm basically just going to make a groom that so what I've got in my mind is with Yeti, when you place a guide curve, or a strand as it likes to call it, you can give that strand a radius of influence. And so what I was thinking is if I kind of draw streaks of them rather than painting a displacement map, I can just have grass grow wherever a guide is placed. So that would mean I don't have to do loads of fancy masking. Granted, I might just kind of simplify things for myself by doing some booleans. So let's just quickly grab these guys. I'm gonna duplicate that group. I'm gonna grab this. I'm gonna merge these. So let's go combine. Delete the history on them. And I'm also going to duplicate this guy. And what I'm going to do is just do a Boolean difference between these two. Or Boolean kind of like a cut, basically. Cut these bricks out of that mesh. Before I do that, I'm going to make the mesh a bit smaller. Then we probably want to get rid of this face here. Oh, that's why, okay. Cool. So basically what I've got in my head, oh, I deleted the wrong one. Undo. Camera. Alright, so let's isolate that one. Cool. So that's those two. Let's isolate them. And all I'm going to do here is just, again, Boolean them out. This is going to create a horrible mesh, by the way. But that mesh might be exactly what I'm looking for. What is I'm looking for right now? Alright, Booleans. That's the difference. Okay, so I need to select them in the opposite order. Mesh Boolean difference. Okay, let's try intersection. Why is that not working? Okay, let's try moving these way out. Or maybe that will help. Let's reverse the normals. Reverse. Boolean difference. Okay, so apparently that's not working. What happens if I do a union? Does the union disappear as well? Yeah, okay. So what's the error I'm getting then? Can't perform Boolean operation. Okay. Then I'll have to do a different thing. So other option. You can go the gross way. and like quad draw on this thing. If it works, right? So let's go like this. I'm gonna get my Wacom out. I just need meshes for the grass to grow on, but I don't want to put it on the actual road mesh itself. Sorry about this sound. A webcam and the Wacom like to get tangled up. It's always great. Right. There you go. So let's do a quad draw. So basically we're just going to quad draw little faces wherever you want grass to grow. So I'm going to get my ground up on the other screen. Come on. There we go. Right, so let's just get So I hope you see the general idea here is that if I want little bits of grass to grow out of these areas, I can just grow it on this individual mesh. I can put these meshes wherever I want. Like if I want some stuff to be growing out the side, then I can just place them on the side. I am curious to how Yeti responds to having meshes with like loads of holes on the guides. I feel like it'd be fine. But I don't know for sure. So let's give that a go. Where is that mesh? Yep, that's the mesh. So let's just do grass, base, mesh. Geo. And for UVs, we'll just do a top-down UV. Mapping. Plane a map, and let's do y-axis. Cool. So what I'm going to do, let's see if this works. Yeti, create Yeti node and mesh, and this one's going to be grass. Let's call it ground fur grass. If you wonder why I'm calling it fur grass, I think it's something I've spoke about before. Why I always put fur. Basically, my naming convention for stuff is I put the name of the, well, at least with Yeti, with Action, I handle it slightly different. But I put the name of the asset, so ground in this case, and I put whether it's fur or feathers, because fundamentally all grooms are fur or feathers. Well, you've got instances too, but I don't count that. So yeah, so I say if it's fur or feathers, and then I do what the groom is. So it's like ground, fur, grass. If I was doing feathers, then it would be ground, feathers, grass, although I don't think you'd ever do feathers. And if I was doing the flowers, if I modeled that and I decided to use Yeti to place them around, I could do ground, instance, grass, or flowers. I don't know what I'd shorten instance to though. But yeah, that's my general approach. So that's why I've put the fur grass. So let's just quickly import grow. So we're going to need to really crank this up, I think. There we go. Grow that. And we start to get grass. Let's get a bit of minimum length on there. And let's use a little bit of scraggle. How did I draw it? I drew it like that, so we're just going to need a little bit of scraggle and clumping, right? So let's do a clump system. Lock density, and while I remember, let's quickly just go set render to 1 times density. I don't really like using density overrides at render time. For really heavy creatures, sure, like it's pretty important, but for this sort of stuff, no, not really. Let's go to 20. So the problem we're going to get with the clumps is that they might not appear everywhere, which could be a really big issue. So there is stuff we can do, but let's just go create a clump. And let's just give this a base attraction of 0. And let's have not every hair attract. Well, I don't really like doing that method. ID less than 0.201. So then we got a little bit of clumping. We'll add a very slight scraggle to this guy. The default it actually works just fine. And then we'll add a scraggle to this guy. And if we turn off those clumps, it just kind of, you know, pulls stuff together. Let's get a width node on there. Beautiful. So how thick do I want to do this? It's weird how width random only goes down. I've never really liked that. I feel like width random should be a plus and minus type thing. Hey Becca. How's your mum and dad? Let's go 1.5. I feel like it's too long. And we could definitely go down on the CV counts here. So let's take that down to 5. And take this one down to 6. Actually, no, let's put that one back to 10. Because it has a bit of a bigger effect on this guy. And we're just going to change that scraggle over here to have less root scraggle. We could even, in fact, yeah, that will work better. Okay, so I'm gonna do a curve here. So let's do curve, strand U, because I don't really like using root scraggle, because the problem with root scraggle and tip scraggle is that it seems to do a perfectly linear, like, top to bottom. So if you want the middle to have just as much noise as the top, you can't do that with root scraggle and tip scraggle. So what you can do instead is create a curve to mask it. So what I can say is the first 25% of the curve has no scraggle, and then the rest of the curve has all the scraggle. So let's just do that. So it's just curve, strand U, and then 0.0 on the, so as in the 0 on along the curve, we're going to give a value of 0. And in terms of how we want that curve to be interpolated, we just wanted a standard Bezier curve, which is free interpolation. and put another comma, and then the next point along the curve, let's say we want it to be at 0.25, so 0.25 along the length of the hair. We want that then to have a value of 1, and we're going to use a interpolation of 3 just so it's all the same. And there we go. So now there's no scraggle at the root of the hair, and all the scraggle at 0.25 onwards. We should probably loosen that a bit, so let's go to like 0.5. And there we go. And that just softens out the look of the root, makes it a little bit easier to use. And then let's just increase that. Although I feel like we do need a little bit of something at the root. So let's put that back to where it was. And let's just say, rather than 0 at the root, let's go like 0.3. Yeah, that looks a bit better. Let's try that 0.5. Cool. And then let's throw some scraggle random on there. So some of them get half the effect, and then let's double it. And how much of a difference does that clump make now? Still makes some difference. The hair's too long still, I think. Anyway, let's get the characters visible. Actually, it's not too far off. Let's just change it a little bit. There we go. Oh, hey John, how you doing, man? So now let's throw, I'm not sure I like the density of it. Let's reduce that. Let's take that down to 100. Let's go 150 maybe. Oh, it's a little bit better. And what we'll want is some random hairs to be like way longer. So I'm going to add a transform modifier. Let's go here, create, transform. So what this transform does, by default it will scale everything. So I can just go scale and set that to like 2 in every axis. And everything gets way bigger, which is obviously a problem because I don't want that. If I set this to element, that now scales all the hairs by 2. So you might see a bit of an issue, which is that all the hairs get scaled evenly. So we can do a if statement for this. So I'm just going to do my usual thing of hash ID. Because we've already used hash ID somewhere else in the group, I like to just add 1 or add 2 or whatever. And that just gives me a different seed in essence. And let's ask if it's smaller than 0.2. If it is, then we want it to receive this value, so doubling and everything. And if it's less, what I'm going to do is just set all that to 1. So that means now that 20% of the grass get doubled in length. Which, since they've already got length variation prior to this point, that will mean that they get like completely broken up. Like there's already scale variation in them. And that for me goes a long way. We can obviously increase that so like 50% of them are longer. And that would give a look like this. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to go with like 20%. And if we want to change which ones are getting chosen, just to kind of prove the seed thing, we can just go to this ID +1 and change it to +2. Or change it to +3. And it just picks different hairs each time. It's a really nice little system that Yeti has for that. So we're going to need to make this mesh not visible in render time. So let's just turn off its visibility for like everything. And we don't need to subdivide it. This song has no business being that chill. So now, let's do a test render. So let's just give that a quick go. Oh yeah, it would be helpful if I make the lights visible, wouldn't it? I'm a professional artist. So let's update that. Okay, update full scene that is then. Might have to go shorter in the grass, I think I've gone too long. And what I can do later, if I want to control the length of the grass in different areas, I can just use, no, as always, I can just use the, what's the word, guides. So I can paint attributes on guides and use that. There's some grass there. So we're going to want to give that a different shader for sure. A little bit of grass down here. A little bit of grass back there. Alright, so let's throw a grass shader on this. Assign new material. Let's go with a standard hair, I guess. And let's just pick a better patch. So what we're going to want to do for this is use primarily diffuse, I think. So let's just call this grass map and just attach SG. So first thing to do, no melanin. Melanin makes no sense in this. And let's add some diffuse. In fact, let's crank diffuse, see what happens. Okay. Let's give it a base color towards green. A hair shader probably isn't the right way to go, but we'll play about with it, see what happens. I actually quite like the softness it's got. It's not really at all accurate, but just try a few different areas. So definitely too long and too thick. Although I kind of like it in a way. I definitely need a lot more of it. Because one of them sat just behind, yeah, it's exactly behind his feet. So let's put that up a little bit. So let's fix it in the actual, with the render going. So width needs to go down. Let's turn on 50%. Let's go down even lower, 0.5 maybe. So ghostly. I may just need a an actual shader on this. Although that looks a bit better. So let's put the density up, I think. going to decrease the length a fair bit. In fact, let's put the density even higher. Let's go 400. As we reduce the height of this, it's going to feel a bit better. 800. At what time is it going too far? At what point even? 800 is definitely too far. So let's go 600, split difference. That feels okay. It's feeling a lot better. So let's get that length corrected. Length multiplier, let's go 0.1. It's going to give a much more mossy appearance. Let's go 1.5. I need to do the same to the clumps too. No, not 0.5, 1.5. A lot better. Let's do 0.15 on this guy too. I feel like the grass should be darker too. Yeah, it works a lot better. So let's just get that shader corrected. And then we'll start placing more patches for it to grow out of. So that's why I go for a darker color basically. Let's go to 0.3. Probably hue shift it a bit. Hue shift it a bit towards blue. I prefer the more orangey look. There we go. I know these colours don't match anymore, but I don't really care. Although technically these should be inverted. So let's pick this colour for you. And that colour. Well, let's go back to the bright one. The reason this one should be brighter, at least in my head, is this, because this is a hair shader, diffuse is the surface, and the base color is functionally the subsurface and transmission. So, because if you don't know, hair shaders are basically just little glass tubes. That's what hair is in real life. They're almost completely refractive, very little diffuse on them. So hair shaders are built with base color being basically, I can't stress that enough, basically refraction. It's not exactly refraction. It's a lot more complex than that, but it's, you know, close enough. Maybe at some point I can explain hair shaders in a bit more detail. There we go, it's feeling a lot better though. So let's get that killed. And go back into this. In fact, we'll keep the character there, but in template mode. Oh, that's the light layer. There we go. So, just temporary. Cool. So I'm just going to hide that. In fact, I'm going to put it in the grooms. In fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to leave that out. And let's just continue doing the quadro. We need a lot more of it. So here's a quirk. As we change the thickness of these meshes, we're going to get more or less hair because there's more surface for the hairs to grow on. So while I'm placing these, I need to monitor that I'm doing roughly consistent widths. Like if I was to go into an area like this one and just do like that, we're going to get a lot more hair here than if we just do that. Roughly 3 or 4 times more hair. So how do I delete again? Oh, there we go. But it's just something to kind of keep aware of. Let's put a little bit of grass in front of his foot. And we will be doing a strip of polygons that kind of goes along the curb, but for now I'm going to ignore that. In fact, can I do this? So this would probably crash my scene, so I'm going to save and then alt save so we got backup. But can I do this with this visible? Because it grows, it like works really quickly. Oh, I can. Cool. So you see how we're getting more hair when I do that? Or more grass even. It's interesting how it actually pulls the hair with it. It doesn't operate the way I'd expect it to. Let's just pull one side a bit further back. And at some point I'll have to make a flower generator. I wonder if you could do that with feathers. Like, I know you can just instance meshes, like there's no need to do it with feathers. I'm just curious to if I can actually make a flower shape with a feather. Let's do a little patch near this one. There's like a bit of a gap. That bit's off screen, so let's just get a little bit of something. Tiny little patch there. And then I guess so this face, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off for a moment and just move that into there, tilt it outwards a bit. And then let's put this back on. Back on there. Now we've got some grass growing along. I might want to move it up a bit, I guess. Or we can leave it and just see how it looks in render and adjust it later. We might want the grass there to be longer. Let's just grab this guy, delete the history on it, and get back into Quadro. This is a really roundabout way of doing this task, by the way, but it works better than I expected, so I'm gonna keep doing it. Wait, does it affect other areas? Oh, it does. Interesting. So it's reseeding it based on the total surface area. That's cool. That's really cool. So here's a hacky way of changing density. Disgusting. but it works. That's my favorite kind of work. If it's disgusting but it works, then it's worth doing. It's so weird how that works. Just go super thin line right here. And just move these close together. We'll get a little bit more grass back here. Maybe this can be a longer. Love this song. But why did I do that when I could do that? Alright. That might work rather well. Let's give it a go. Need to do some Devon's cloth soon as well. Oh yeah. Why is this not rendering? Oh, there we go. How come every time I say why is this not rendering, it's exactly when it starts rendering? I'm gonna let her do 3 passes and then I'll isolate the bottom. Oh, I need to do loads more of it here. I've been completely neglecting this area. Need to go a bit further back too. Oh, those things. This guitar playing has a really John Mayer vibe to it. I'll have to fix this going through the foot. Looks like it's working alright. I need to get... It's working, like the curve I'm thinking is working best here. You can see it a little bit there, but nothing too major. Where else? loving this guitar tone. Well, that reminds me, actually, I need to groom splinters on the box, because one of my friends, Dave, which is like, I remember mentioning this actually, this is like 10 streams ago or something, when I first posted like the updated character within the groom. I jokingly said how like I'm grooming every surface, and he looked at the box and was like, there's not a single splinter in that box. Just called me an amateur, it was great. Right, so we need to get way more over here, because we've currently got nothing. And we need something back here, which by the looks of things, that is there. This area needs a bit. Delete history. And keep this going. So back here is where I need some stuff. Nothing too major. I need to mute Facebook. Trying to find a way to not repeat a pattern while I do this. Maybe we should do more patches, because I'm doing lots of long sections. Oh, that's interesting. The way it moves. Yeti is weirdly consistent. Oh, that's my phone's turn to do a lot of vibrating. Should we fill this area? Maybe this can be where the little flower is. I feel like Patricia from Split when I say that though. Put a pretty little flower in your hair. That was too much, I think. So here's a gross idea. Just have it around the outskirts. Which makes some sense, because that'd be where the most sheltering is. But in the middle is such a big gap that maybe we get a bit more grass growing there. That actually makes a little bit of sense in my mind. I'm going to delete these though. Tiny little island of grass in the middle, maybe. Get a little something here and there. I feel like at least one of these should be way longer. Let's do that. I made some horizontals as well. Let's do right here. reduce that a bit. Oh, excuse me. So, what's the next thing to do? Let's see how that looks. And we can model a flower. Why not? I feel really sick all of a sudden. I'm gonna start this random and open a window. Now we can start, in fact we need to start doing a bit of grass out of these, and I also want to do a little bit in the corner of this wall. Nothing too major, just subtle. How long until we go full nuts and do like actual moss room like all over the scene? That's when I really start needing to upgrade my PC again. I'm gonna start doing shit like that. Oh, a bit of fresh air is nice. Water tastes a bit weird today. So now our tap like goes through phases of tasting weird and tasting fine. It's not doing its thing. So is there anything that, like, one thing I'm curious about is there anything that you guys want to see in particular in these streams? That obviously, you know, ultimately it's me working. It's not, I don't exactly plan on, like, if you guys request a tutorial series, then I'll do that as a stream. But like, if you want me to kind of talk about specific parts of the process as I do it, like, is there anything you want me to focus on while I talk? Or just babble shit like I normally do? Because I don't know what would be helpful for you guys. Like it's all working. Let's do a few small region renders. Babble, babble, babble. Alright, cool. You got it. I'm wondering if I need to do anything that's distance based on these grass strands. Because the depth of field is going to affect them, so it's like, do I need to do like, you know, could it be helpful potentially for me to have the shader get a bit darker as they go into the background? Which isn't too tricky to do. You can probably do it with a sampler info. Not sampler info, sorry. There's a world like position sample thing. Looks like it's all working. What the hell's that? Great, I need to figure out what that is now. Yeah, I think it's all working. I think that's a good amount of grass. Maybe a little something there, or maybe I'm overdoing it if I had something there. I should probably leave it before I overdo it. Cool, so let's leave that as is. . So I need to get some stuff in here now. So the easiest way for me to do this is to make one of these live, and again select this guy, delete history, quad draw, and then rather than like place them all one by one, what I'm going to do is just make a few of them, and I can model these around later to get what I actually want. So while we're at it, let's do this another one, and I can go in front of the wall. So now rather than having to go back and forth constantly, I can just lock the environment again. And then work my way through these in edge mode. So I can just do that. Obviously they're facing like perfectly out, which is an issue, but I don't think it's an issue that will need to be fixed.
Up until tonight, I thought that's what you wanted to. Well, you know, part of me wants that, but it's like I'm two guys, you know? I mean, you know, I have to listen to both of them. They don't exactly let each other finish.
Just put this back here.
Some things are better left unsaid. It's nicer when people just get along. Those earrings look really lovely on you. They're yours. Actually, they were Nana's.
I've really been too fond of the chill hop that kind of has the just talking from movies. This feels a bit much to me normally. So let's get that moved along. Then let's just get him, and we'll put him pretty much as is, but like in his own little world. Put him down here. I'm not going to scale him up or anything, just going to have him there. There we go. So let's give that a super quick render test. And then we will make a pretty little flower. No idea how I'll do it yet. No idea what I want to make flower-wise. I'm gonna just search flower. In fact, flower weed. Because, oh yeah, of course I'm getting weed. Yeah, I should have thought about that. Should I search weeds flower rather than flower weed? Weeds flower. There we go. Fuck modeling most of these, to be honest. Doing something like this would be fun, but like I know how to do it. I just can't really be bothered. I feel like it'd be a bit much as well for my scene, doing a little dandelion. If you're wondering, like, if feel free to call me on my bullshit if you think I don't know how to make it. So basically, the way that I do this is you model just a little tube, and you put a sphere on the end of it. On the end of that sphere, you add a groom. That groom will just grow like the main little stems. On that groom, you grow more hair towards the tips and give it a incredibly large scraggle that kind of forces the hair in random directions. But because you've only got the hair growing at the tips of these little stems, they naturally fill that silhouette up. The way that you get the kind of see-through effect is that because it's only going towards the ends, it's kind of like a Fresnel effect in the shader. So you end up with this halo thing going on. And then once you've got that, all that combined, you can convert the hairs to Geo, or probably keep them live and load them into a Yeti as a feather. And that would allow you to instance them around. Well, technically you load it as an object, then you instance it around. I'm not sure how you handle like adding them all together, and ultimately I probably could just do a groom, like model the stems and do a regular groom rather than instance these around as a whole. But yeah, I think something like this might work better for what I want. It's not a really complex model. Like, and ultimately everything I do is going to be out of focus anyway, right? So I'll do a test run. I'll model a super basic version of that. Has this started rendering yet? So let's go update full scene. So let's see if it works. And then we'll do the flower. Oh, it was rendering that whole time, it's just a really tiny region. Okay, so let's region render the bottom. And I'm going to leave that to go for a minute while I think about how I'm going to model the flower. Luckily, because I'll be scattering it around with Yeti, it's a procedural workflow, so I can kind of change how I model it after having scattered it. I'm going to change this music. Let's change playlist again. Why does it keep doing that? I'm looking for my favourite song. Or is it? There it is. This is like by far my favourite song at the moment. This makes me so happy. Has this got a straight distance before? That's why it's more chaotic earlier. That's something I should probably add as well, actually, is a really curled grass. So let's do that quickly. Zoom into an area like this one. I'm also going to change the seed. Because this one's the most visible of all the grass, so we need to make sure that's the one that works best. So let's just change the seed. That one works better. So I'm just going to add a scraggle at the end again. And this one is going to be overly strong with maintain length turned off, root scraggle to 0, frequency up, and then a low percentage. And let's get us a more interesting, like, crisscrossy texture from a distance. Nice and easy. Yeah, so now we get like these that kind of reach over the top of stuff. Maintain length off is quite an important step of that, because with it, it just kind of freaks out and shrinks down. And that looks a lot less visually interesting to me. It's a shame that maintain length isn't a slider. It'd be nice to have a percentage, like Xgen does. Right, so let's make a flower, I guess. So the important note here is that whatever we do has to fit inside this cube. So let's put that. So why does it have to fit inside this cube? Basically, Yeti instancing, it can instance things and deform items along a curve, which is a really fucking powerful tool. However, it assumes a curve length of 1. Like, the curve length is basically a multiplier. So if your object is larger than 1 unit, it doesn't really know how to handle it along the shape of the hair. Like, it can still instance stuff just fine, and it will instance them at the scale you model it, but going for a length higher than 1 just makes it a bit more unpredictable. Like, you can't add like scraggles and stuff. So whatever I do has to fit inside this. So I'm going to put that in a temporary layer. And I'm just going to model, let's just do a cylinder. And that cylinder is going to have 8 sides, because it's a tiny little boy. 0.1. Let's go 0.05. And do something like that. And it doesn't have to have like a pivot at 0, it just needs to be like 0 in length. So if I just do this, the closer it is to world center, the better. Something like that would be fine. And then let's just scale that down. So what I'm going to do, for the sake of having something quick, is I'm just going to rush out a super basic flower model and we'll see if it's actually working. So let's go with a disk. Guess this is the so this is going to be a super generic flower shape. Beautiful, right? Scale up a bit. And for the sake of having something that at least tries to be natural, let's give it 2 layers with a back layer slightly like that, and then just pull these. So again, overly simplistic model right now, but that's because it's not the point. At least not yet. It will be soon. Bit too far out. So, if you're wondering why I've added so many vertical spans, that will become, like, you'll realize why soon. Let's take that even lower. Let's go 2.5. No. That's a big difference, Jesus. Why is it getting smaller? Okay, let's delete history on it and just inflate it. So that's too small to support the weight of that thing. There we go. So this is our flower. Beautiful, I know, but it's fine. So combine. Cool. Let's just super quickly round this out. There we go. And I really want to fix this. That'll do. That's our temporary flower geo. What's this? And we can delete that guy. I mean, we never really needed him to begin with, to be honest, but flower geo. So let's just add it into this guy. So I'm gonna go into my input output. No, I'm not. I'm gonna go into my graph. I'm gonna add objects, and I'm going to add flower geo. So, okay, that makes sense. So we're going to go to this import. This is going to be import underscore geo, and we're going to quickly correct that to be the right mesh. We're going to create another import, and this one's going to be importing our flower. So I'm going to call that one import flower. And then we need to create another scatter. And then we need to create an instance. So this might crash, so I'm going to save. I'm also going to massively lower the density of this now, before shit breaks. So let's take that down to 20. And let's just drag that in there. Okay. So, we got these around, but you may be noticing they're not even close to following. Like, what the fuck is that? The reason it's not even close to following is because currently it's instancing this object at its exact size. So, what we want to do is in this instance node, we want to go to objects and go deform. And we also want to go to the scale and multiply by length. So I believe it's just length. Oh no, I don't need to put dollars. So now, if I change the length of these guys, I can do, I'll be showing you another important aspect of that in a moment. I'm just taking it one step at a time, just for anyone who is curious about this stuff. So, if I change the length of the hair, we start to get bigger things. If I scraggle these, we get scraggle on the actual these guys as well. I'm losing all my words right now, but you get the general point, right? Is like we're scraggling a hair, like we're creating a hair, giving it some shape, let's just quickly make that shape look a bit more appealing. Let's give it more of a wave. And then we're instancing an object. So if we look at the exact shape of this, we're then instancing an object along that. The way it's doing that is using 0 to 1 on the y-axis, instances around it, which is a really nice system. Really nice system. So this isn't exactly what we want. Obviously, we are going to need to make a merge. So let's just quickly merge these two together. The reason that this isn't exactly what we want is because, oh, let's just get that connected. So the reason it's not exactly what we want is because currently the length of these hairs scales the object as a whole. So you don't always want that. Sometimes what you might want instead is to multiply just the y-axis by scale. Although in this case that won't work particularly well, but if we just do that, it now keeps the general scale of the object except from the y-axis. So in the case of this, we're probably not going to want that because there's a circle at the top of it which confuses everything. But if you're doing feathers, that's something I quite like to do sometimes because I can then control the width with a separate map. Whereas with this being a circle at the top, you're going to see any width changes. So let's just undo that. Yeah, there's not really much else to it, to be honest. We can hide this basic object. And yeah, that will work just fine. It might be worth separating this into its own group. We'll find out. But yeah, so let's have a quick look at this. And let's make everything else visible too. So we get like fucking loads of these flowers around. So let's just lower that. We can also crank it. Like if we want hundreds of these fucking flowers, fuck it, let's say it's a 200. Get flowers everywhere. You could do a poppy field very easily with something like this. Let's set it to 2. So 2 gives us a fair amount. Let's go down to 1. Change the seed. I'm just gonna play with seeds until I find one that works. These two being right next to each other isn't exactly what I want. Ooh, there we go. It's actually kind of nice because that's facing the camera. What are the chances of that? Alright, cool. There's one back there. Cool, so that will get a nice bit of variety. We are going to make these smaller though. So let's increase the amount of length variation too. And then let's set that to be a lower number in general. So let's go 0.3. That means we could probably get away with having more. So let's set that to 2. Quite like that. So we'll have to set a new shader, and honestly this is where I get a little bit lost because I don't know how to keep the shader of the object. I assume it keeps the UVs and stuff, but we'll have to find out about that. Alignment variation. Yeah, not too worried about that. Twist, and twist just towards the top. Scale variation. Yeah, I thought. Oh, so that scales along the length of the hair. That's nice. What else is there? So let's try giving that a render. See how it looks. We can always convert these back to an object, which is a nice bit. So let's update full scene. And then if this is working, we can actually go in and model the flowers to be a little bit nicer. Really want to fix the topology on this knee here. There we go. So there's maybe the best place to go. There he is. Got a little flower. And there's going to be a little guy up here too. No? He's just too small. Should be there. I think that's him there. Put it out of focus. Where else is the one? One back there. Oh, he's just. Oh, right, he's gonna get cut out, isn't he? Yeah, I thought so. There's gotta be no visible, right? Yeah, once we add there's go. Once we add a different shader to these, that will kind of set that up for us. Yeah, there we go. 10 little flowers. So let's model those a bit nicer, shall we? So here's a test. What's the performance of this like? If I just grab that and go like that. Wow, that's really quick. Cool, well we can just model this as is. So I'm gonna get that reference visible. So again, this is the reference that we're gonna go for. So I was completely making up shit when I made this bit back here. Okay, so we're going to need to change the camera clipping distance. There we go. Oh, yeah, I'm going to want to stop that. Let's extract those faces. In fact, no, I don't want to do that either. So I'll keep it all as one object so I don't have to redo any instancing. Cool. Now let's do the same with this guy. This is shockingly fast. That middle bit needs to be way smaller. So we're going to want to detach components here. There you go. I will find some reference later on for the back of the petal, but for now this is fine. So that's two petals that are overlapping, isn't it? They form in groups. It's so weird. So more like that. It's very strange. So, I'm gonna need to make another mesh, which again, because I'm doing things in weird ways, because it's already there we go. I'm so shocked at how fast this is. Like, seriously, this is ridiculous. I'm actually not going to model this like a photoreal standard, because honestly there's no point, but... Like, when I'm saying there's no point, like, holy shit, there's definitely no point. Let's do that. You ready for example of quirky thinking? So I need to duplicate this object without duplicating it. So are you disgusted? Oh wait, what? Oh, because it's extruded it with that'd have been so good. Surely, doesn't it give things a thickness? Why can't it keep the old faces? I'm actually so sad. I thought I was onto something there. Okay, well it's gonna be the way to do that then. Oh, actually, does subdivision do anything? No, subdivision doesn't do anything. Good, because I'd be very surprised if it did. Okay, so we're gonna need... Let's move that forward a bit. so now is where we're getting a bit funky. So let's tiny little flowers. So what I want to do now is make this feel slightly more organic. Is smooth these guys, and then grab all the verts. So let's just go back to that. Convert selection. Oh wait, I want to get rid of these. Cool. Convert this selection to vertices. And we want to do a transform component with a high random. And let's have it feel a bit more natural. Cool, there we go. That'll do. So let's hide that mesh again. Not too keen on this song. There we go. Kind of make them a little bit more visible. So, is there a way for them to keep their shader? That's what I'm wondering now. Actually, I need to test around and see if the crazy noise helped. Let's just leave a little render going of the entire bottom section. Right, so while that goes, I'm gonna search up instance shading in Yeti. Yeti instance shading, or shaders. What I'm wondering is if it can keep the shader. So now it can keep the UVs. So if it can keep the UVs, then I can assign a shader after the fact. I'm just trying to think, like, procedurally, how can I shade that in a way that gives me a bit more control. So we need to get some stones going soon, don't we? While this goes, let me just test something. So we got those placed. Let's say we're happy with it. I'm going to try something. Let's view this at the instance level. So we've only got the feathers. Only got the objects. And let's go Yeti convert grooms to curve. No, convert to my objects. Haha! So now we can go into there and view it at this point. So we could just do that. We just need to assign a shader to these. As a test, let's just quickly assign Lambert 1. And if it works, we can set up the UVs to allow us to do some procedural stuff. We can do that with them as instances potentially. What's the word I'm looking for right now? Ah, shit, what is it I'm trying to do? Oh yeah. Okay, so that works. So was this a flower? It was a flower, it's just completely out of focus. Alright, cool. So we're gonna need to get these UV'd. I'm just gonna put my phone on the carpet so it's not constantly vibrating. Well, it'll be vibrating, you just won't be able to hear it. Right, so let's UV this guy. The way I'm gonna UV it is literally just, is it green or is it not? So let's just create a UV. And then I should probably isolate this. So most of it will unfold with no work because it's all planes. So it's just this main tube that we need to unfold. So let's just, should we just cut it in half? And it'll work, right? Cut that. Unfold. Layout. Now what I'm going to do this is we can have those along the length. Let's lay these out now. There we go. Do I only have 4 of them? Why is there a few missing? Oh, infinitely small UVs. Do you use a tablet or a mouse when using Maya? Currently using a mouse, but I'm trying to get into the habit of using a tablet. So, we got that. So let's see if we hide this now. Grab this guy. Go into instance. Then convert this. Do they keep their UVs? They do. Cool. So you can shade these. There's probably a way for me to keep that in the there's probably a way for me to keep that in the actual shader. For now, let's just do a super quick thing, which is assign a material to these and call it flower mat. Flower mat. Then copy that. And let's just call that street. Cool. So in this guy, we're going to put a ramp. We're going to make it a U ramp. And we're going to set that to none. At the halfway point, we're going to go to white. And on the left, we're going to have green. Light green. So let's just turn reflection way down. There we go. So now what I'm wondering, let's give this a go. So we've got that flower material. I'm now going to delete these guys. I'm going to grab this guy, graph that, and now we've got a grass material. Can I create a super material where it's just a Arnold blender layer, Arnold layer shader? We can plug the grass into that and call this grass. And we can plug the flowers into this, call that flower. And in the mix, we can create a AI user float. Plug that into mix. And let's call this is flower. Or flower mask. Flower mask. I'm going to copy that. So now, let's go into this guy. And I'm going to assign this super material, which is now disappeared. Oh, actually, it'll still we'll still be able to graph it out. Cool. So let's just call this ground plants map. The street. We can now assign this, and all we need to do is create that attribute, flower mask. So let's go into the groom, view this. So let's create an attribute. now the groom has flowers. So in theory, this will now render with both materials, if they're set to renderable, which I think they are. Damn it. Oh, vertex. There we go. That saves me effort. So now I don't have to convert it back into I don't have to convert it to Geo. The shader does it for me with that custom attribute. In my mind, that's the power of Yeti. Is once you get your head around attributes and how they work, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And it's great. Cool. Was it worth the time? Absolutely not. But you know, it's progress. So now we need to randomize the color of these. So how are we gonna do that? We can create another ramp. Okay, let's create another attribute, and this one's going to be create, and let's just say flower col, or flower rand value. I'm going to set that to hash ID. Ooh, okay. No variable named $ID. We need to copy the variable up here, don't we? Inherit attributes ID. There we go. Plus one. Oh, cool. So we got a random. We're gonna call that flower and value. Honestly, I don't know which one this needs to be plugged into, but it works if you do it to both. So I continue to do it to both. So let's just do that. So now this is our color, right? So this needs to be plugged into our flower color. So let's create a new ramp. Don't know why I didn't type the full amount of ramp. Can delete that. Let's plug you in there. Cool. Let's create another AI user data float. Plug that into here. What I'm going to do is just set this to vibrant pink, vibrant yellow, no interpolation, vibrant green, and vibrant blue. Just so I can see if it's working. And temporarily we're going to have to increase the amount of these instances. Aha! It works. I shouldn't sound so surprised. But I am. So there we go. Now we've got all these little randomly coloured flowers around the floor. So now we could keep going on this, but honestly it's pointless. So I'm gonna pick some nice colours and we'll leave it at that. Let's say we'll leave it at that. I'm not gonna leave the stream at that, I've still got stuff to do, but we'll leave the flower shading at that. So these are the colours, so let's go for a much more dyed down pink. Just pick a pink one. Cool. The yellow ones I'll make less vibrant still. I need to find a yellow one. Oh, him. Well, I want these to be white. So let's just go to white on that guy. A little bit of a hint of yellow. Oh yeah, he's going to be glowing, isn't he? There we go. Next one is the green, which honestly I'll get rid of. And we need some little reds. So let's find, what did I just replace? Was it blue? Not many, there we go. So I need to change to a more appropriate amount of flowers because there's too many. Let's go to 5. Please get rid of this one. Damn it. Don't like that one. I guess it's fine to keep some of them, but I kind of want to make some of them like way longer. Maybe we can hand place them too. Like if we want to add like one doing a very specific shape, we can do that. It's just a case of making a guide curve, converting that guide curve to a hair, merging it with the hairs that we're instancing these along, and then boom, you've got a curve that you can hand place, and it'll place a feather for you, which stays live for instancing. Because the nice thing with this is I can continue to work on these. Like I can model that base flower, move it around, do whatever I want. It's all still live. Is that reflection? That's a reflection, isn't it? So that's the next thing. What is the next thing? Stones? Pebbles? Need to do the dev on these too. So I need to tweak the lighting. Reduce that. Oh, I need to reduce the lighting on the back of the sky. So let's just do a quick so I'm going to put that in the ground group, I guess, or should we put it in the grooms group because it's specifically for grooms, right? Yeah, I'm going to go into grooms group. I'm gonna create a group in here called utility. So ground plants Yeti group. And then we can just leave these in here, right? So now let's just dim that light. Modify. Can you freeze transforms on lights? No, you cannot. So let's set it down to 4 exposure. A full exposure lower should do a fair amount. Did I start a render? It says render. Oh yeah, 0%. Hey, there we go. So, rocks are the next thing. I don't want to do. I don't want to. Oh Jesus. Okay, so going to use ZBrush probably. You can model rocks by hand, or I could scatter like some very basic polygon shapes. And what's the word? I could scatter some very basic polygon shapes, and then fuck. Sorry, I'm completely drawing a blank right now. Model some very basic polygon shapes that are like really low poly. Scatter those around, and then add a shader to them that's like pure displacement. Like displacement just completely wrecks the shapes. So all we get from that original input is the silhouette, and then a fractal is doing the rest of the breakup, because we don't need stuff that looks great. Although it'd be nice to do like little bits of slate, I guess. Although at which point is it quicker just to model them by hand anyway, rather than instance them around? I also need to start putting off the wood look dev too. Okay, right, what am I doing? Let's have a quick look at some reference. I know Becca sent some really cool ref into a chat earlier. It doesn't have much in terms of stone though. Becca found this earlier. That sign up there looks weirdly fake. Like, as in the white one. It looks whiter than everything else. Except this, I guess. That looks fake too. But this doesn't really give much information in terms of like the debris. Also not entirely sure this is actually from Victorian era. It looks like a matte painting project. Like, it looks like something a student's done. Because this line is really fucking sharp. Like, really sharp. This graffiti looks newer than Victorian times. I don't feel like that'd be scribbled. It feels like a matte painting project. It's a nice one, but I don't think it's real. There's just a lot of weirdness about the image now to look at it. I'll leave that. This image looks completely fake too. Pretty sure they didn't have giant worm monsters. Right, so let's just quickly look at debris. I'm just going to search the word debris. And street. Should I model stuff like this? This is a really cool ref. Let's just model some super basic shapes and just scat them around, see what happens. So let's make a cube. I'm just gonna make whatever fucking shape comes to mind. So let's just do that, that, that. That will do is one piece. Now there's another piece. Yeah, let's see how these work. So, just put that to the bottom of it. scaled them to 0. So I'm going to use Yeti to do this. So let's just duplicate that road again. I should probably duplicate the bricks actually. But no, we definitely shouldn't. That. Nice that it remembers that. Cool. Let's add a Etinox mesh. I'm gonna add these. I'm just gonna call these debris 1, 2, and 3. I'm not gonna worry about naming yet because I don't know if this method will work. So let's grab you. Cool. So now we can hide these guys. Let's just set this to load debris 1. Cool, so it's often to normal, so I don't really need to worry about that. But let's just fix it anyway, right? What would be the best way to do this? So let's just copy that. And in this one, we'll plug in a different object. Let's just grab this and go merge. All right. let's just quickly go in and make these all a bit smaller. And assign a lambda to this for now. And if I like it, I'll just convert it to my objects. Just so we don't have to keep a groom in the scene. Come on, it's a delightful scene. Yeah, render density set to 10. How does it look, out of interest? Like shit, love it. So let's just quickly fix that. Oh, yeah. We got this ground duplicate, which needs to be not renderable. Kind of works. A few too many on this side. They feel a bit too uniformly placed too. But I don't know if there's a way for me to randomize them even more. Actually, no, there is a way for me to do it. We can make a groom to kind of paint density around. Something I want to quickly do is, let's get rid of that actually. So let's just quickly do something. So let's just quickly change 1.5. 1.5. Is there a way to randomize it backwards? Ooh. What does that do? Nothing. Okay. Well, let's have a go. It'd be really cool if that randomized position even more. So, let's get into there. Should have just renamed this series to using Yeti for questionable things. Hey. It's taking its time. I'm gonna change music again. So what I'm wondering is, do I need to make these bits of debris smaller but more of them? Is that what the issue is at the moment? Because currently they're all the same size, which is obviously one issue. In fact, I do need to add a considerable amount more variation to them. Currently the spacing is way too uniform. I don't mean like rock per rock, because that's not overly uniform. What I mean is more, you'd expect to see a lot more of this stuff towards the edges where people aren't going to be kicking it around. Whereas here, because there's a lot of people walking here, you'd naturally kind of kick them as you walk, so they'd end up more towards the edges. I don't know if there's a way to automate that. I don't think there is, but I can use guide curves to do that for me. So let's just get that test rolling. Wait, what the fuck? Okay, so apparently, Jesus. Apparently Simpsons Hit and Run is now 18 years old. That disgusts me. So I remember playing it when it was new. So it'd been what, 8? Hey, there we go. That's better. Getting there, for sure. I think I'll probably end the stream at this point, to be honest. But yeah, I'm gonna. How long have I been streaming? 2 hours and 40 minutes doesn't seem right, but apparently so. So I'm gonna start a end of stream render. Let's just save the scene. I'll clean up the scene in the next stream. Surprised how far we got with the ground, to be honest. Adding the stones, the grass, the flowers, and all that jazz. Pretty sure I've been streaming for 2 hours, not close to 3. When did I post it? Yeah, it's close to 2 hours, not close to 3 hours. I don't know why Facebook, YouTube seems to think I've been streaming for 2 hours and 40 minutes. Cool. Well, I'm gonna call that it. Probably won't stream this weekend because it is Becca's birthday on Monday. So we'll be kind of busy this weekend. But yeah, next Tuesday I'll be continuing the stream. I'll probably start detailing the ground a bit more, so in terms of like getting the shaders working the way I want them to. After that, I'm probably gonna get the wood look dev to some extent, because it's probably the biggest thing in the image now that's like not done. So I mean, nothing's done, but yeah, we'll get there over time. But yeah, so the next stream I'll detail the ground and get the slate shaders and that sort of stuff working a bit more nicely. Then stream after that we'll do some wood look dev, get them all UV'd and ready to go. Not sure how I'm going to do it in terms of like asset naming, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. And yeah, that'll be it for now then. Hope you guys have enjoyed or learned something or felt good about yourselves watching me fuck up. But yeah, so I'll hopefully see you again on Tuesday next week. Bye guys.